Electoral Commission to the printing presses, a lot of the printing houses, I'm talking about back press assemblies and all of those printing houses, they were very clear that for back press, for instance, they told me that they had finished printing the presidential ballot papers. So they see letting them pause it will not make any difference. So a lot of them had indeed finished printing. The resumption will not make much of a difference just for those who may not have finished. And then it will continue. Votes for GFP or Madam Ekwe-Adonko will be annulled. And then eventually we'll get to know who wins the 2024 elections.
Right then, Crosby, many thanks for those details. That's my colleague, Noble Crosby Annan. And just by way of bringing to you again, Madam Jean Mensah's position on the ballots being maintained. Let's take a listen to exactly what she had to say.
Of the Commission's decision to maintain the presidential ballot as it is. As you may be aware, and I believe all of you have representatives in the printing houses, we are almost 90% complete with the printing of presidential ballots. And you're also aware that following the passing of Madam Ekwe-Adonko, we requested the printing houses to cease printing until the law had taken its course. Now that the presidential candidate or the nominee has been disqualified, the Commission would like to inform you that the printing would proceed on the current ballot as is, in the interest of time and to save this country millions of cedis. And so our task here this morning is very simple. We are not here to change positions. We are not here to reballot. We are simply here to inform you that the Commission intends to notify our printing houses to proceed with the presidential ballot as is. It will proceed with the ballot that bears the name and the image of the name of the Ghana Freedom Party, their symbol, and the image of Madam Ekwe-Adonko. And we believe that a lot of discussions and advertisements will go out to prevent the citizenry from voting for her.
We'll say on the elections, because the Electoral Commission again says it has closed some polling stations across the country some 25 days to the December polls. The Commission, which has released the official details of the country's voter register, says it has been forced to close down these polling stations due to a lack of numbers and in some cases a demand by residents. In all, more than 18 million people are currently on the country's electoral roll. I want to show you these in numbers. Let's take a look at that quickly. We know that the number of valid voters, 18,774,159. Voters with biometric data, 18,640,811, while special voters will be 131,478. And voters without biometric data, 1,870. The closed polling stations, the Electoral Commission says they were administratively closed. The polling stations did not meet the minimum voter threshold required for operations. Local communities requested the Commission to close these polling stations for legitimate reasons, and the voters from these closed stations were transferred to other polling stations. We can now speak to Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, who is a Deputy Director of Elections and IT of the NDC. Doc, good afternoon to you. I appreciate your time with us here on News Central. But I want to hear from you. You're not happy with the closure of these polling stations. Why? Doc, we can't hear you. You're speaking, but we can hear you.
Hello. Let me say good afternoon to your cherished viewers and yourself. Clearly, if the NDC hadn't asked the Electoral Commission about these statistics last week, this revelation wouldn't have come out. It means the Electoral Commission closed certain polling stations without the knowledge of political parties. This is our first time of hearing it. In fact, it took me by surprise. I mean, when I heard that on their press release, which sought to to release the summaries and the statistics there in the register to claim that they have closed down certain polling stations. And all along we have been dealing with them. They've never mentioned about the closure of polling stations at West. We are not aware of this. That is why we asked them today at the IPAC meeting that they must provide us data of those closed polling stations so that we can also amend our report, because we are still holding on to all the polling stations as used for 2020, and then the addition, because they made us to believe that they are not creating new polling stations, they are only creating voting centers. And so that made the voting centers to increase from the 38,622 to about 40,900 plus. So if they know that they have closed down polling stations and migrated them to some new polling stations, it's important for them to provide us the data of those closed areas. Very, very important.
I see. And what did they say in response to the data request?
Well, they have not said anything. They were mute about it. They are quiet about it. They know that clearly they have not done the needful, and they needed to go in and do the needful, because we can't just take it that they have closed polling stations and that we should take it on the face value that polling stations have been closed. We are major stakeholders. We are the political parties, and yet we don't know polling stations have been closed.
I see.
This is serious.
I mean
and I'm sure you the media, you the media, now you are now mentioning figures. If we hadn't asked them, and you should be thankful to the NDC for holding the fort of democracy. Otherwise, these figures you wouldn't have known them. You were just going to be reporting certified register would have known the figures in it. Now you have seen figures, you are mentioning the figures, and they've now segmented it into those with biometric and those without biometric. All this, and you didn't know of that.
I see. I mean, that's
fair. And then Ghanaians should be thankful.
Indeed, that's fair. But when you listen to the reasons the Electoral Commission has given, that there aren't too many voters in these areas these 25 areas where they have closed the polling stations, they even go to the extent to say that, look, some of the residents there requested that the polling stations be closed. What are your thoughts on the reasons?
Well, the reasons are not tenable, because when you talk about reasons, it must back with data. What is their threshold for a polling station? What we do know is that it shouldn't be more than 750. That is the threshold we are working with. But they haven't also informed us it shouldn't be less than a particular number. We don't have that. They have not given that kind of threshold. So for them to say that it has not met the minimum number, which number are they talking of? What is the minimum number a polling station is supposed to have? They are interested in law. Everybody is interested in the law. Tell me, on the CI 127, where will they find the minimum numbers that should be at a polling station? In any case, you can't just close a polling station without the knowledge of political parties. We are your stakeholders. And so if you are closing it, let us know. Give us the data. Polling station A is being closed because their numbers are not many, or the community are having issues with this polling station. So you have closed it. Let us know. Now, assuming we are training our party agent, we are going to deploy, and we deploy agents to those polling stations, and they don't exist. What happened? Or what will happen? So that's what we're saying. We need to know this. And that's why I was curious about the statistics. And you see that
so Doc, it would appear that the Electoral Commission has a lot more questions to answer. What are those key questions you want them to answer as far as this closure is concerned?
That's very clear. One, they must give us the data of those closed polling stations. We must know those polling stations they have closed down. What are the figures there in those polling stations? And which polling station have they migrated their voters to? You say you have closed down a polling station and you've migrated them to other polling stations. Let us know which polling stations you migrated them to. And because of that, you have a shortfall in your absentee voters list, about 884 of that. This is a big number. We can't just gloss over that. We need to know the figure too. And let us know which polling station have you put them in there. We should come clean on this. You see, sometimes I don't know why they are creating unnecessary difficulty for themselves in some of these things. These are pure administrative work. They should just bring it out. They shouldn't be.
I see. So Doc, if we haven't lost you, what happens next as far as, you know, the NDC's action towards getting more on these closed polling centers or stations are concerned? It would appear we have lost Dr. Computer on that connection. But you're here. on News Central. When we return, we'll bring you more stories from your election command center. Don't go away.
For the benefit of every
Welcome back to News Central. Now, this afternoon, the National Democratic Congress and family of former President Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings have laid wreaths in honor of his demise 4 years on. Tuesday, November 12, 2024, marks exactly 4 years when the former president passed on at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital after a short, undisclosed ailment. His demise occurred less than a month after he buried his mother, the late Victoria Agbotui. Party members, supporters and family members earlier converged at the headquarters of the National Democratic Congress to lay wreaths to commemorate his demise. My colleague Stanley Bleu is there for us. Let's connect with him right now for a bit more details. Stanley, let's start off first perhaps with the persons who were present at the NDC's headquarters. We've seen his daughter, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, as well as his son. Talk to us about who else was there today.
Okay, so Mawena, so earlier a handful of party bigwigs were present, talking about the former health minister Alex Egbefia was there, Mr. Frick Balfour was there. However, some of the bigwigs that we are expecting that they would also show up were not able to do so because most of them are following the president on his campaign trip in the other regions, so they were not able to do that. But I must say that a couple of party supporters and family members were there to honor the late former president, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings.
And a number of things were said. Walk us through what was said at the party's headquarters. So
for the speakers that spoke at the functioning this morning, they were of the view that the late president had actually contributed greatly to shaping the course of the Fourth Republic, and so he deserves to be honored. So the first to speak was the vice chairman of the NDC, Mr. Kofi Atto, who said that the party is considering honoring the late president by observing his birthday as a holiday for the party. So we can listen to Mr. Kofi Atto, what he has been saying.
Right.
I'm not so sure why, when the name Junior Jesus came from, but this was somebody who was ready to sacrifice himself for all of us and to speak truth to power. He was arrested, but is it truth? It's like cock. When you push it underwater, it comes up. Just about the time the trial was about to end, other revolutionaries, young men in the army, corporals, I know their names, I know some of them, we don't have much time, came and released him. And that release and the foundation of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council is the basic foundation for our party, which is NDC. You cannot talk about NDC without talking about 31st December Revolution, and the central person in that one too was J.J. Rawlings. It was important for us in Sekondi Takoradi in 1998 to put his name in the constitution to say that this was the founder of the party based on whose ideas and visions and inspiration we formed our party. We need to do a lot more as a party. We have made proposals to the party. We need to recognize him a lot more. We need to institute a day, and we have moved that decision to the neck to recognize maybe his birthday should be a holiday for our party, should be a celebration for our party. And I'm sure that after our victory on the 7th of December, the next NEC meeting may have to be considering that so that we complete our recognition to our chairman.
And we know, Stanley, as well, that the daughter, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, also had a few words to share.
Yes, Mawena. So her daughter, who is also the MP for Korle-Klottey constituency, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, also said that his father is a figure of principle. And so the NDC, when they are able to stage a successful comeback to power, they shouldn't do business as usual. We can also listen to her.
Today should have been a celebration. But how can we celebrate a life when everything he stood for is being dismantled before our very eyes? I'll read a quote by him, and I think that this is a quote that should guide us as we work towards the 7th of December this year and beyond. Because the challenge is not so much winning an election, but doing the right thing when you are in government. When he was chairman of the PNDC, he said, and this is only a section of a speech, "The errors of the past must be corrected in order to re-establish the confidence of our people in a secure future." And as we go about speaking to people, trying to urge people to vote for us as a party, many people are reminding us not to come and behave as if it's business as usual, because it's not. We're seeing the degradation of our environment at a rate at which we've never seen in our history. And His Excellency, President Rawlings, was an avid environmentalist. He cared so much about the environment that I almost feel as if it caused him pain when he saw things going wrong with the environment. He would react in such a visceral way when he saw trees being chopped down, especially when we were not replacing them.
And that's Dr. Senator Rawlings. Earlier, my colleague Stanley Niblo at the wreath laying ceremony in honor of Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, who the NDC has been remembering today. We can bring you now Regional Hub.
Our first stop is the Upper East region, where the regional minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Saleh, has cautioned residents of the region to be careful with utterances that have the tendency to trigger election violence. Dr. bin Saleh made the appeal at the 79th Remembrance Day Parade of the veterans in Bolgatanga. On November 11th, every year, Ghana and most parts of the world, particularly men and women of the military, gather to pay tribute to the brave men and women who have served and those who continue to serve in our armed forces on the occasion of Remembrance Day. Our Upper East Region correspondent Tanko Mohammed Rabiu is standing by with a bit more on this. Tanko, good afternoon to you. What else can you report about Remembrance Day?
Okay, thank you very much. Yesterday, it was a solemn occasion where all the security services, including the police, the immigration, the customs, were there to support the veterans, that is the soldiers who are on retirement, who have served diligently during their time, and then also those who are in service. Yesterday, families of, especially widows of those who, the veterans who departed, were there to also grace the occasion. They also read a wreath to in memory of their lost ones. The regional minister, as you rightly mentioned, Besali, main message was for those seven, that is security services, towards this year's election, and especially the entire security of the country, especially Upper East region. He cautioned them on the utterances, especially residents, about what they see that can lead to more conflicts or maybe disturbances in the region. Especially, he admonished the security services to employ their professional attitude towards handling security situation, especially when they are being deployed to these areas, especially conflict areas. And then when it comes to election, they should at least sacrifice their time to observe and monitor the situation at hotspots, police stations that will easily cause election violence this year.
Indeed, thank you so much, Tanko. Rabiu Mohammed is our Upper East Region correspondent. We can now take a listen to the regional minister.
Holders We must be mindful of our utterances and know that Ghana is a beacon of peace and democracy in the sub-Saharan Africa. We also have the responsibility to protect our enviable image as a country. As you are no doubt aware, the region, that is the Upper East region, is also grappling with security challenges ranging from land disputes and chieftaincy to external threats of terrorism and violent extremism.
From that to the Ashanti region now, a founder and leader of the Action People's Party has described as baseless assertions that the NPP is for Asanteman and vice versa. Kenneth Nana Kwame says the ruling party has not done enough to develop the Ashanti region, a region it has been touting as its traditional stronghold. The politician and businessman believes the 2024 election will largely be based on development rather than mere affiliation. Is with my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar, who's been interacting with him. Ibrahim, interesting perspective he shares there, but what's the basis of this argument or these opinions he's beginning to share at this particular point in time?
Well, Mauna, he believes that even though the MPP has enjoyed some form of loyalty in the Ashanti region, because if you look at the electoral terrain or political terrain, the MPP has indeed or can indeed say Ashanti region is a stronghold. But he said if you compare that loyalty to the level of development here, it's not enough. And for that matter, the MPP shouldn't kid themselves that this time around people will just vote because they think that they are from Ashanti region and MPP for Ashanti region. People would rather look at development based and be casting their ballot. Because if you look at some people or some project that the MPP initiated and are yet to complete in Ashanti region, it is a minus for them. And for that matter, they should up their games if indeed they want to maintain Ashanti region as their stronghold. And for that matter, he just said that this time around, most of the youth, or he is even urging most of the youth, not to vote for MPP because they've not done enough in terms of development in the Ashanti region. Kenneth Nana Kwame is the leader and founder of the Action People's Party.
They are claiming MPP belongs to Asanteman and Asanteman belongs to MPP. That was a falsehood. Because what have they done to Asanteman? Nothing. They have nothing to show to the good people of Ashanteman that give them the mandate to become a government in this country. They promised us 5 interchanges. Up to date, not even single one that they have done. Look at Konfanoche Hospital. It took Otumfuo to go run and beg for money to fix at Konfanoche Hospital. Even the market, which got banned just recently, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia came and promised the people that he's coming to fix the market. 1 year down the line, I'm asking you if that market has fixed. And the same Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is in Ashanti region for 15 days, going around promising people that he will fix one district, one market. Even the second phase of KJTR, 8 years down the line, up to date, they haven't finished it. We should forget about these MPP people. They are not for Asanteman, and Asanteman is not for them.
Ibrahim, interesting perspective. So what? Is he campaigning against the ruling NPP and seeking to have persons vote for the NDC, or he's seeking to build a base of his own for future elections? Because we know he's not on the tickets for the presidency.
Exactly, Mauna. As it stands now, obviously you say that, or you can comfortably say that he's rather campaigning for the NDC because he is not on the ticket. He is saying that next election he will make a strong case and be there so that he will be able to present himself to the people of Ashanti. In fact, he alone doesn't share that view. We have a lot more people who also share the same view, because if you look at all that he has mentioned, and none of those projects have been completed, it says a lot about the ruling party and its stronghold in the Ashanti region. So whilst others are hoping that they will sit up and do the needful others too believe that when they lose the vote this time around, maybe eventually or later they'll come to their senses and make sure that they also play some form of prominence in the Ashanti region when it comes to developmental projects.
Ibrahim, as always, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar from the Ashanti regional capital of Kumasi. And this particular segment with John Mahama, because he's promising that the next NDC government is committed to transforming Ghana's creative industry, beginning with a new national theatre in Kumasi to support content creators in the region. The plan, according to him, includes modernizing the Accra National Theatre with a state-of-the-art equipment to serve as a creative hub for artists nationwide. John Mahama announced this at an engagement with creative artists in Kumasi on Tuesday.
National Film Theatre, since China for boy you see Rawlings abreso, everything there is not been rehabilitated. Into Kwane from any other baby I say oh yeah exhibition and I be sometimes curtains you can't draw the curtains stage I say and you baby I say room. Into America so say you say who ye send a bit to me about the creative industry. Now, we share a manifesto 2020. The true say you see a second national theatre at Kumasi. Now, the 2024 manifesto you sign repeating what Musa Nyamiya Adoma say you see a second national theatre in Kumasi. If you say Kumasi, you are the center of the arts and culture in this country.
As the NDC's flag bearer, John Mahama, who interestingly is in the Ashanti region as well as the NPP's flag bearer, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia. He will take us onto our second break here on News Central. When we return, a bit more stories for you. Please do stay. end this afternoon's edition of News Central. Quickly though, follow our social media handles. This particular handle on Instagram, 3news.gh. That's where you find exclusives in terms of news content, from news cards to exclusive behind-the-scenes content. You call it what? Find it on Instagram at 3news.gh. I am Mawina Egbeka.
And I am Kemeni Amano. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.